I'm glad to be here amongst you today, and it is always my pleasure to be back in Holland. As I spent 3 years in the Netherlands and have wonderful memories. It was a pleasant surprise to see today the Queen of Holland among us this morning. This is show you a true careness and a democracy. I wish all the leaders will do the same in all their countries. I will be speaking to you today about the situation in Syria. You've probably heard lots and you've seen lots of the news, but what I'll try to give you is a true and a straightforward story. How did it all happen? What is next? Do we or we do not engage in business in Syria? Actually, what have started in March of 2011 as a peaceful demonstration was soon after transformed into an armed struggle and became a conflict between the Assad regime and the people of Syria, whom calling for freedom, liberty, justice, and true democracy. Such a conflict was escalated by the Assad regime, shooting at unarmed and peaceful demonstrators, as well as throwing their leaders into jails and subject them to torture and killing without due process. The situation got worsening and more complicated by injecting foreign militias into the conflict, such as the Lebanese Hezbollah, the Iraqi Fadl al-Abbas, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, al-Nusra group, which belonged to Al-Qaeda, ISIS, the so-called Daesh, and last but not the least, the Russians. So the Russians are coming. So what it started as a peaceful Syrian spring, and it was a peaceful uprising, turned into a witch hunt nightmare against terrorism. The Assad regime definitely won the media battle of portraying the Syrian revolution that calls for reform into war against terrorism. So all what you see in the media is somebody look like with the long neck, tall and nice dress. And the other side, you see somebody with the long beard calling Allahu Akbar all the time on the TV and killing and massacring people in the name of their religion. So that's how the way the regime won the war, the media war actually. And that's how the way as an opposition we failed to be able to do the job. Today, the decision is not in the hand of the Syrians. The decision does not belong to the Syrian people anymore, neither to the government. It is an international conflict. The Western allies, the Russian, Iranian, Iraqis alliance, and the Arabian-Turkish alliance, all using Syria as a battleground to sell their political and economic agendas. The way I see it, it's a war by proxy. Syria had and still a peaceful country and a peaceful and hardworking people, a country with potential of being prosperous and great contributors to society and humanities. Looking at the Fragile States Index between the 2011 and 2015, we can see how Syria jumped from alert state to a critical worsening. That all because we were unable to get grip of the situation and provided essential services to our people in Syria. On November 11, 2013, the same day as today, 2 years ago, I was nominated and elected as Deputy Prime Minister for the Syrian Interim Government, the so-called SIG. The top 3 issues on my priorities were moving the headquarters of SIG from Gaziantep in Turkey to a liberated area inside Syria, primarily to avoid having government in exile. This will have provided gain and trust support of the Syrian people inside. It will provide first-hand essential services to the needed areas. And then, of course, the second things on my agenda was manning and managing the border point between Turkey and Syria. The third one was securing and managing oil fields in the liberated area of the eastern region. This would have been possible since the so-called Daesh was scarce and none to reckon with. They were actually less than 1,000 of fighters in Syria at the time, and we could have contained them very well at the time. Unfortunately, all of these were important projects that would have provided essential services to the Syrian people in the liberated area and generated enough income to fund the operation of the interim government and support our people inside Syria. However, for many reasons that I am not prepared, nor I have the time to discuss, so what happened and the results from there on is a history. As most of us are aware, there are many donors, implementers through trust funds and or means working inside Syria that are stumbling into roadblocks in doing and sustaining worthwhile projects, other than humanitarian support and passing just essential food and services, that are mainly due to the fluid state on the ground, and the territories are changing hands on a daily basis, actually on the hour basis. You hear today that the regime is in the hand like an airport, and a military airport. Today is with a certain group. Tomorrow or the same day is with the regime and vice versa. So it is changing hands between the fighting factions. However, having said that, I do encourage all concerned is to team up with me in setting up a pseudo-government project for the entire Syria, starting up in the southern part of Syria, as this area today is known to have the moderate opposition and a true free Syrian army there, troops. There is no Daesh. There's a few Jabhat al-Nusra in that area, and it could be cleaned up very quickly. So this area, it's a very a good area to do business in. That's why I am talking to you today and encouraging you, and I'm calling upon all friends of Syria, supporters, donors, and the free worlds to engage on such an important mission. This mission, of course, requires what they told me initially, political solution or political decision, that this political decision could be obtained. And now, because of all the refugees and the things, I think it's a time to work to start helping the Syrian inside Syria, not outside Syria. In conclusion, Syria and the Syrian people are capable of managing and chartering their destination. With the help of the international community, we can stand on our feet and reconstruct and charter the path for a prosperous and peace-loving country that contributed to the welfare of the Middle East area as well as the entire world. Once we have reached this stage, I would call on all the people and all the loving countries that hosted the Syrian refugees to send them back. Please send back the Syrian back to Syria. We need them back in Syria. We don't need them in Europe. We don't need them in the States. We don't need them in anywhere, not in a neighboring country, because those are the ones who is going to help getting Syria back on its feet. Because Syria needs them to build back the torn country. I would like finally to thank Sparks for inviting me today and talk to you a little bit about what's happening in Syria. I'd like to thank this friend of Syria. I cannot name all of them. You know, if I will start, then I'm sure I will miss somebody. And I don't want to be a hypocrite and thank Holland and not talk to the other country that I'm not hosted with. However, there are countries are involved directly with Syria, such as Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Qatar, Jordan, the Emirates, and I want to thank them for their contribution. I want to thank the bordering country for hosting the Syrian people as well. I want to thank Europe for opening the door for the Syrians. Of course, I cannot forget to thank Chancellor Merkel of Germany for her strong and brave stance in Europe and being able to open the door for the refugees and the Syrians. Thank you. Finally, my special thanks to the US presidential candidate, Mr. Trump. I'm sure you all seen him on TV and you heard him talking, right? And what he said, he would like to send the Syrian back. I cannot agree more. I want to thank him for saying this, for agreeing with me sending back the Syrian refugee. Thank you all. God bless Syria and the Syrian people.